Giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak, Kudash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of the great millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and wherever you may be, and wherever you may be, to you I say Shalom, Yahshua, Shalom. I'll get into a quick lesson, just a few scriptures we're going to grab based on this evening's news. More centered around, the protest that you've seen. Or maybe I'll play them afterwards. But nonetheless, we have everything from, there was a recent ICE shooting. Alright, people are protesting about that. That's here in Babylon. You have protests in France. You have things happening in Syria. You have the farmers, once again bringing attention with their tractors and things. And so on and so forth, because I'm pretty sure there's probably some other places that I don't know about, or that probably didn't pop up on the radar. But the overall point is, it's prophecy. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can grab this in the let me see. I know it's in Ecclesiastes. I want to go straight to it. Let me see if I can get it. If I grab this. Time 4, maybe it'll come up. Yep, there you go, Ecclesiastes. As a matter of fact, let's just pull it up. Let's pull up the chapter. So Ecclesiastes 3:1, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Yeah, that's right. And the main thing, the most important thing is the prophecies of the Lord, where he says that by number have he numbered the times, and he do not move or stir them to the said measure be fulfilled. Same thing it says in Habakkuk, where it says, I will stand upon my watch, to see what he will answer me. Alright, write the vision for an appointed time, make it plain upon tables, just paraphrasing there. Okay. Make the vision plain upon tables. So yeah, and these protests here are prophetic for the time that we're living in. So to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, which is basically the time period of Jacob's trouble. Because we see everything set in play for the MOT being in the digital system. It just has to get to that point where it rolled out. We see, World War III, really that stage is truly being set, but it's just not at that high, tipping point just yet. Other than that, we see, the beginning stages of Jacob's trouble. And of those 3 prophecies, it's the only one that's really in low gear. I mean, you do have ice, you have different things happening, but honestly, it's still in low gear. But the other 2 have definitely switched gears over these last 2 years here. So to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. I mean, you click that. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. And yeah, in the time period that we just mentioned, Jacob's trouble. Alright. It's going to be a very mournful time, but a lot of people, as far as I'm speaking of, burying loved ones and things of that nature, people are not gonna get the chance, because it's going to be so chaotic. What's that, Amos chapter 5, where it says, as if a man did flee from a lion and a bear met him. Okay, it's going to be so chaotic. People are not going to have time to even really think straight. They're going to be on the move. Alright. Hey, the Lord says he's going to smite Egypt with plagues as before. If you read about what he did to the ancient Egyptians, alright, you have things that are that terrible and probably worse coming to Babylon and to the whole entire planet. And what was I looking for? Oh yeah, Amos 5:18. Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord Yahweh. To what end is it for you? The day of Yahweh is darkness and not light. As if a man did flee from a lion and a bear met him, or went into the house and leaned his hand on the wall and a serpent bit him. Shall not the day of the Lord Yahweh be darkness and not light, even very dark, and no brightness in it. See, that's what the time of Jacob's trouble is going to be like. It says the scriptures speak about how the evil shall increase, and evil and only evil that the Lord is sending. Was that also in Jeremiah 15, such as to death, and so on and so forth, such as to the sword for the sword. So going back, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away. Yeah, especially when it says a time to get and a time to lose, time to keep and time to cast away, because the scriptures tell us to be ye as pilgrims. Alright, we may all get run out of our houses, some into a FEMA camp, some just out into the wilderness, and in survival mode. Whatever the case may be, that's just your lot. As long as you get salvation at the end, he that endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. A time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. And now more than ever is the time to speak. Okay, as far as in a sense of time and urgency, because the ministry is we don't know exactly, obviously not, but just watching the things that are going on in the world, the men of the Lord are not going to be out there forever, and the internet is not going to be up forever. Okay, so if you are a listener, okay, it's time to listen in. And if you're a teacher, then well, I mean that's what the prophets do. So prophets have to prophesy, right? Because a prophet that doesn't prophesy is not a prophet, right? He can't prophesy, he's not a prophet. So we don't have forever to warn the people. Okay, now brothers get into different lessons, but we see how the clock is winding down. Well, anyways, it says a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. Yeah, I had a recent run-in, because people of your past, which they didn't appreciate you when you might have been in the world, but nonetheless they didn't appreciate you. And now here we are in a time period like this, and people will forget what they do to you, what they say to you, okay, how they're going behind your back, and then think things are just gonna roll over. And it's not going to be that way, okay, because the Lord chose you to come into this truth and did not choose them, and so they're still in the world. Okay, but anyways, what profit hath he that worketh in that wherein he laboreth? And we'll probably stop right there. I just want to get those few verses there. As a matter of fact, we can jump back to Matthew. Actually, I might be able to back up. So Matthew 24, verse 6, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, and that's what we're hearing. Okay, everything from America to Venezuela, China, Taiwan, Russia, Ukraine, North Korea, South Korea, Japan, India. You have different nations being named in certain situations that weren't previously named. Okay, and of course the state of Israel is actually gearing up to do more stuff. So as always, calling the Edomites of the east, and Babylon are calling the Edomites of the west. You see both America and the state of Israel sort of doing the same thing, all right, advancing in war. Okay, and they're doing it probably more than anyone else. I mean, of course, you have Russia and Ukraine at war, but Russia's only slowly advancing. These guys are making big moves because they're trying to put themselves in a particular position. But it's all to fulfill prophecy. So yeah, it says, ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. Okay, and a rumor of war right now, a major one is Trump threatening Iran, which within Iran, which they probably set it up, but to make the point, you have people protesting to take Khomeini out of power. Then you, on the other hand, you have Trump saying that if Iranian protesters die and stuff like that, we're gonna come in, we're locked and loaded, and blah blah blah. Okay, so wars, rumors of wars, you got proxy wars, you got all types of things happening in that stage. But see that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So the Lord is telling you, you're just in the thick of things. Actually, can't even say anything to think of it yet because, like I said, the World War III is not out of control just yet, but it's getting to that point. Okay, before that is the MOTB, and we're pretty much already in the opening stages of Jacob's trouble. It just has to bloom more. It's gonna get worse. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Alright? Now I'm going to jump over here and get my main scripture. Okay. Uproars. Oh, as a matter of fact, let me get another one real quick. Because that's an apocrypha, a little bit apocrypha. Alright, when the righteous, Proverbs 29:2, are in authority, the people rejoice. Okay, and ultimately Yahushua is the one who we need to come. It says that in due time the Lord will set up over it one that is profitable, and then there is going to be war no more. There's going to be no more sadness for us, and we'll be able to whip the earth back into shape. Hold on. As I was saying, it says when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. As I was quoting, the scripture speak about how in due time the Lord will set up over it one that is profitable, over the earth, the earth that is, because the earth has really been it was created by Yahushua and was promised pretty much to him. Okay, it was and we're gonna as his people we're gonna share it with them. Okay, so it's promised to us. It says that in 2 Ezra chapter 8, the earth was made for our sakes, which is more so speaking towards the remnant, but ultimately all Israel will be saved. So the earth was made for our sakes, but as of now it was given, though it was made for us, it was given into the hands of the wicked. Job 9:24. Alright, the earth has been given into the hands of the wicked, and we identify the wicked by Malachi 1, in particular verse 4, but you can start from the top, and it talks about Edom, alright, being the border of wickedness. So we know who the wicked is. 2 Thessalonians says a similar thing. The wicked shall be revealed. And so when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. And that's why you see protests and riots and all these different things. People are going against their government because the wicked are in rulership and the wicked are ruling the earth wickedly. Okay. So yeah, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the big wicked beareth rule, which they're in the power seat right now, the Edomites, the top elite bankers, the people mourn. Okay. Now if we go over here, as a matter of fact, I'll just type it up. Uproars of the people. Alright, so 2 Ezra chapter 9. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. Okay, so seeing things that are happening within the earth, some things can be important but not prophetic, but the super important ones are those things that happen that are important and they actually tie directly into prophecy. Those are the main ones, because there can be some important things that happen but are not necessarily moving forward with prophecy, just something important that happens. But yeah, we're measuring the time diligently by watching the news, watching what's going on around the planet, okay, and tying it in with the scriptures or filtering it through the scriptures. And when thou seest part of the signs pass, and we read some of that in Matthew 24, and so we see part of these signs, which we actually see a lot of these signs pass, all right, because there's been all kinds of talks about different diseases, COVID, and bird flu or whatever. I can't even remember all the things, but different diseases popping up. Those are part of the pestilences. You have earthquakes constantly popping up. You have wars and rumors of wars, and come on, we don't even have to speak on that. So all these things are the beginning of sorrows. And the Lord says, be not troubled. Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. And so that's why we are seeing these things happening, because this is the Lord visiting the world. And the average person doesn't know it. They don't understand, because they don't understand prophecy. But these things are happening because the Lord is visiting the world. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes, see, and what? Uproars of the people, okay, in the world, which is what we're focusing on this evening. When there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. Because he says in Isaiah 46:10, declaring the end from the beginning and from the ancient times, the things that are not yet done, something like that. All right, and said that my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. See? So you see how that just tied in together? Let's get the world uproar, see what comes up. A state of commotion and noise and confusion. Yep, there you go. Perfect. Tumultuousness. Wow. Yep, that word is in there. A loud and impassioned noise or disturbance. A public expression. Oh, beautiful. I didn't have to say it. See, a public expression of protest or outrage. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. All right, and that they basically, said everything I needed to say. Then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath the beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. You see, it's coming to fruition. Even so, the times also of the highest have plain beginnings and wonder, and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. And everyone that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith wherein ye have believed shall be preserved from the said perils. That's the remnant, and shall see my salvation in the land, because they were predestined to, and within my borders, for I have sanctified them. There you go. See, from the beginning, predestination. Ephesians chapter 1. See. But then they shall be in pitiful case, which now have abused my ways, and they that have cast them away despitefully shall dwell in torments. See? And I want to get another one. I believe it's in, is it 15? Yep. Because all these protests and riots and things of that nature and these bad situations are only going to get worse and worse and worse. All right, 2 Kings 15 and 14. Woe! Destruction to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, is close. And one people shall do what? Stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And you have people versus other people. You have people versus the government. All right, so and so, like the farmers and stuff like that. All right. So they shall stand up and fight against one another, and swords in their hands. And yeah, the recent ICE situation, ICE shot the lady. Okay. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. And that's what's happening right now with some of these situations. Right? People are rising up to incite, other people to do something, okay, about the current situation. And that's what's happening. And it's resulting in protest. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and their courses of their actions shall stand in their power. And that's why they're out there rioting, protesting, starting fires, destroying things, and going against the government. Okay? And as those things get worse, you're going to start to see, lawlessness. And in some cases, you're going to try to see the government push forward martial law, all right, to lock these things down. Like it says here, the man shall desire to go into a city shall not be able. Also, they're not going to be able to go into a city because you're going to have, killings happening, robberies happening. You're going to have states against states, and all kinds of separation. All right, great division and great confusion is going to happen in Babylon and in the rest of the world. All right, for because of their pride, cities shall be troubled, the house shall be destroyed, and the man shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, like it says in Matthew. Love of many shall wax cold. Wax cold goes into the word cycle. But shall destroy their houses with the sword. What's the modern day sword? The gun. And spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Right? And that's what people are complaining about. Okay? They're basically complaining about life. Right? But I'm going to leave it right there. So, Lord will lead you edify. Say shalom. Jordan Lee.
Hands up Venezuela soil! Hands up Venezuela soil! No vote for oil!
I call for them to stop. Let the Venezuelans govern themselves.
Si ponen cualquier excusa para atacar un país y realmente coger los recursos, estamos al final todos a merced de lo que quiere hacer esta gente.
Crowds gathered across the nation after a woman was shot and killed in Minneapolis by a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officer. 37-year-old Renee Nicole Macklin Good was a U.S. citizen born in Colorado and a mother of 3. In social media accounts, she described herself as a poet, writer, wife, and mom. Hours after the shooting, hundreds gathered for a protest and vigil nearby. Trump administration officials painted Macklin Good as a domestic terrorist who had attempted to ram federal officials with her vehicle.
This appears as an attempt to kill or to cause bodily harm.
Her mother told a Minnesota newspaper her daughter was not involved in protests against the administration's immigration crackdown. She said her daughter was compassionate and took care of others all her life. And her ex-husband has said she just moved to the area from Kansas City, Missouri last year. He did not want to be identified, but said she had just dropped off her 6-year-old son at school and was driving home with her current partner when they encountered ICE agents.
يعني يستفيدوا المدنيين كدروع بشريه حسب وزاره الدفاع بعد اليوم ما عاد في تساوي المجموعات اللي جوا.
لافت للنظر ان اليوم خروج نسبه كبيره من الاطفال والنساء والحالات الصحيه بالنسبه للرجال والنساء كبار السن. الحقيقه يعانون من ظروف صحيه كبيره، تم تقديم لهم الرعايه الصحيه في سيارات الاسعاف، وايضا مما يحتاجون النقل الى المشفى تمت في اغراقنا بنقلهم الى المشافي لمتابعه حالتهم الصحيه. اضافه لذلك تتابع ايضا فرقنا الاسعاف الطارئ في مراكز الايواء ايضا لمتابعه حالتهم الصحيه.
مين المسؤول عن خسارة طفلة عمرها 4 سنين ونص عينها؟
Who is responsible for a 4.5-year-old child losing her eye? Who is to be held accountable? How can we explain this to a 4.5-year-old child, that she lost her eye because two groups are fighting one another?
We received 3 bodies and 3 injuries. 2 of the injuries were children, 2 girls under the age of 6 years old. One was injured in her eye and we had to remove her eye, unfortunately. And the other had shrapnel injuries across her body. In total, we have 3 dead and 3 injured with medium injuries.
Let's now shift focus to Iran. The protests here are continuing and they are violent. People are taking to the streets in almost every province.
And authorities have launched a crackdown. Dozens are dead, but protests continue to spread. In the capital, security forces fired tear gas to disperse demonstrators at Tehran's Grand Bazaar on Tuesday. Protesters threw gas canisters amid clashes with police.
According to videos shared online, a large crowd gathered on a covered street and can be heard chanting slogans. These chants included "Death to the Dictator."
Another video showed a statue of late Supreme Leader Ruhollah Khamenei and his successor Ali Khamenei set on fire by protesters in the Sistan and Balochistan province. Iranian authorities have not published an official death toll. However, the US-based human rights activist news agency reported that death toll is at 36. It said that 34 of those confirmed killed were protesters, while 2 were affiliated with security forces. Over 2,000 people are said to be detained. The group relies on an internal activist network and has been accurate in its reporting in the past.
Iranian semi-official media reported that a policeman was shot dead by what they called rioters in Malik Shahi in the western province of Ilam. Malik Shahi is a district of about 20,000 people, many of them from Iran's Kurdish minority. There have been widespread protests and a violent crackdown by security forces in recent days there. The protests were triggered by anger over the rising cost of living. The wave began on the 28th of December with a shutdown by merchants in Tehran, in the Tehran Bazaar, that is, a national economic hub in the capital. It has since spread to other areas and students have also joined in.
Now, the government of President Masoud Pezeshkian has announced modest monthly payments for people to alleviate the economic pain.
The Iranian currency continues to fall. According to the informal black market rate and several currency monitors, Iranian rial in value has really fallen against the dollar.
Iran's judiciary has warned that Tehran will offer no leniency to rioters, but it added that the public has a right to demonstrate.
Now, the head of the country's judiciary, AJ, said that Iran listens to the protesters and their criticism and distinguishes between them and rioters.
Moving on, let's shift our focus now to France, where farmers are back on the streets of the French capital and their protest is against the long-drawn Mercosur deal, a Europe-Latin America agreement that French farmers say will ruin their livelihood, In fact, just a short while back, farmers heckled the French National Assembly speaker, who said that a meeting is scheduled to be held with union representatives to hear their concerns.
Démission! 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 La honte des Français, putain de merde! La honte des Français! Montrez que vous avez du poids, madame! À l'unanimité, les députés, ils ont voté contre le Mercosur. Montrez que vous avez du pouvoir. Nous, on compte sur vous, madame.
Farmers are protesting at several landmarks across Paris. This gathering is in front of the iconic Arc de Triomphe, where hundreds from the agrarian sector gathered to demonstrate against European Union's decision to go ahead with the Mercosur deal.
Cereal farming has been in crisis for 7 or 8 years now. We're competing with Ukrainian wheat, which isn't priced the same as ours. When Ukrainian wheat arrives in France at 120 euros, we would have to sell at 120 euros as well just to stay competitive and make a living. We don't have the same social and environmental costs as the Ukrainians.
There were similar such gatherings at the Eiffel Tower, where farmers and critics of the agreement with Latin America are rallying to exert more pressure on France's government. The country is already apprehensive of the deal and has relayed its concern to the European Union. In western Paris, farmers arrived with their tractors to join a coordinated protest, but law enforcement blocked their tractors. The EU-Mercosur deal has been 25 years in the making. The trade pact with Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay and Uruguay would be the EU's largest in terms of tariff cuts. Germany, Spain and the Nordic countries say it will boost exports hit by American tariffs and reduce reliance on China by securing access to minerals. But critics, including France and Italy, fear an influx of cheap commodities that could hurt European farmers, which is what hundreds are still protesting about. And let me go across to Ross Cullen. He's joining us live on the broadcast from Paris, getting us the latest from there. Ross, concerning times, the farmers are back on the streets of Paris in this cold weather. What are they saying? Just a short while back, we saw that there was a scuffle as well between the farmers and the National Assembly Speaker.
Yes, you could hear démission, démission there, the calls for the resignation of different ministers. We know there's going to be a meeting this afternoon between representatives from the agriculture unions and top politicians to try to come to an agreement. Agriculture ministers across the EU met on Wednesday, where they said they agreed new incentives for the farming sector to try to reassure them, because there is going to be a crucial vote on Friday in Brussels to see if this deal between the European Union and Mercosur can be agreed or not. We know that when they tried to get it through in December, the EU failed because France, Italy, Hungary, Poland and Austria were holdouts. We know that the makeup of the countries that are concerned about this deal hasn't changed significantly, but it is believed that there might now be a greater chance of being able to pass this commercial accord. The EU says that it would be able to remove almost all of the duties on all products coming into the bloc and going to Mercosur countries as well. But French farmers fear a flood of cheap meat from Argentina and Brazil coming into the country, and they are also separately concerned and protesting about what they say was a botched response by the French government to an outbreak of lumpy skin disease in some cattle herds last year.
All right, so we'll have to wait and watch what happens on Friday. Thank you very much, Ross Cullen, for joining us and getting us the latest from Paris.
La possibilité aux États-Unis de même plus faire semblant, parce que
sappiamo che il Venezuela è un paese ricchissimo, per fortuna da tanti anni, da oltre 25 anni questo paese si sia liberato.
Yankee, asesino, te vas a mi vecino. Imperialista, narcoimperialista de los Estados Unidos. Not even a little, not even. One of New York, one New York.
So I had my finals around the 17th, and then immediately after, I guess because I stayed up for 7 days.
Que para Donald Trump, nós somos todos